You can be the greatest, you can be the best, you can be the King Kong banging on your chest. There's a reason I love this song, Hall of Fame by The Script. And every time I hear it, it reminds me that greatness isn't reserved for a chosen few. It's for anyone willing to step up. It's for anyone who's ready to push past their limits and build the right habits to create a lasting impact. And that's exactly why today's episode is so special on Chhoti Kalam Bade Sapne. So my guest for today is Yash Tiwari. Yash Tiwari embodies the spirit of transformation. At just 23, he's already inspiring countless people through his words. His book, The Mindful Revival: Habits for Lasting Change in 50 Days, is a guide to rewiring your mindset, breaking from limiting beliefs, and stepping into the best version of yourself. If you've ever doubted your potential, this episode is specially for you. Get ready to be inspired because today we are talking about habits, today we are talking about mindfulness, and today we are talking about small shifts that lead to extraordinary change. Let's welcome Yash Tiwari. He's done 6 TED Talks, 3 Josh Talks, best-selling author, global youth speaker, and guys, believe me, the list goes on and on and on. Welcome Yash, welcome to our podcast, Chhoti Kalam Bade Sapne.
Thank you so much. It is such an honor, and first of all, thank you for such a warm welcome as well. But to be on this platform जहाँ पे हम youngsters में ही साहित्य के बारे में, literature के बारे में कह सकते हैं एक अलग जगह रहे हैं, right? We are trying to start this initiative to inspire the young ones and of course their guardians, their parents, to support them on their journey. It is a journey which resonates very personally for me as well, and I feel more than honored to be here to of course talk about my latest book.
We are so excited and let's dive deep into it. Now, we'll start with, you've talked so much about mindfulness. The title says The Mindful Revival.
Yeah.
How do you define mindfulness?
That's such a great question because this is one thing which, I mean, I think I am going to speak very bluntly about it, but every single person has their own preconceived notion, right? Every single person, most of the people at least, think that mindfulness is a very philosophical concept. It's a very vague, generic concept जिसके बारे में हर दूसरा इंसान motivational talk दे रहा है. And that's fine, that's absolutely all right. But from my personal point of view, mindfulness is as simple of a concept as it can be, yet most difficult to understand. मेरे हिसाब से माइंडफुलनेस का मतलब होता है मैं अपने बारे में बहुत अच्छे से जानता हूँ और मैं दुनिया के बारे में बहुत अच्छे से जानता हूँ. In my pursuit of introspection or self-analysis and self-realization, I'm not saying that I'm going to cut off from the world. I'm going to get to the top of a certain mountain, meditate for decades and not think about the world at all. No. I am getting to know more and more about myself. I am developing the important skills in my life, be it communication skills or my creative passions or even better idea about my professional journey. But at the same time, I am also remaining connected with the world. I am respecting the world I am in. I am respecting the people whom I am surrounded by, and I am trying to gain something from it as well. So for me personally, mindfulness, simply put, is the awareness of self and of the world, and somehow synchronizing the two in order to create something which, as you mentioned, can be called as great.
Absolutely, and such a beautiful message you've given us, because sometimes we get confused. ज़रूरी नहीं है mindfulness के लिए हमें किसी mountain पे जाना ही है, you know, and sit there for days, hours and months, and then you get to that level, you know, and what a beautiful message it is. Now, so, you know, you just mentioned about perception, and I'll say that according to me, if you ask me personally, what is mindfulness? I'll say that it's basically a very simple process where we are just noticing our surroundings.
Yes.
And which is so beautiful, because many a times we just ignore. For some reason, somebody just told me that, you know, I got a small beautiful lamp in my room. I said, so? He said, I just recently, you know, just checked.
Yeah.
So that is mindfulness, when you check your surroundings and you notice all the nitty-gritty details about it. So, And yes, in today's time, the youth especially is missing all these small notes.
And at the same time, the youngsters are also constantly, calling out the opportunities that they don't have, which, if you ask me, they very much are in front of you. The only point is, are you striving for them? Are you making an effort to even look at the potential which is there, but also the opportunities that are out there?
That is unaware, most
Yeah,
likely.
exactly. And so that sort of deliberate reluctance towards the world that you live in and the world that you have within your own self, I think that is the fight I am fighting to, take an initiative against it. And that is what the mindful revival is all about. To get to know about yourself, even in the moments when you feel so depressed that you don't want to even come out of bed, when you don't want to attend any calls, when you don't want to go to even college or do what you professionally do, how in those moments, just within 50 days, you can have a transforming effect in your life by doing one single activity every single day as listed in the chapters of this book. That's what it is about.
I'm so excited when you just said 50-day challenge. I love challenges.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but it just gives me a kick to achieve something.
Exactly. That is the goal. Because see, अगर हम लोग एक depressed व्यक्ति, I'm not trying to simplify it, but if we try to look at it from a broader perspective, एक व्यक्ति जो कि depressed है या बहुत ज़्यादा nervous है या बहुत ही anxious है, उसका scenario दरअसल ऐसा ही होता है कि in most of the days they don't feel like doing anything at all. They just want to stay in their bed. They don't feel energetic enough to even talk with others or...
I am sure our audience are going to agree on this point.
Yeah.
Because many a times I also realize I just don't feel like doing anything. And there's no rhyme or reason if I look back. So true.
And so in those moments when you don't have to, let's say, read a 50 pages ka chapter, but just one chapter every day. Simple, direct, one activity every day, simple, direct. Like you said, it gives you a kick. It makes you feel a bit more excited towards life and makes you feel, look forward towards something in the next day as well.
Which is so amazing. So it says the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And here we're going to talk about 50 steps. And each step is put in very simple words, just to the point. And in the end, there's something special after every chapter. So who gave you this idea, putting down in such simple words? And who are you broader perspective? Your audience.
Yeah. So for me, I never try to say that I only cater to the needs of youngsters, even though technically I primarily guide and mentor youngsters in my sessions and workshops. But this book specifically, when I was writing it, I was not thinking about writing a book that is only for youngsters. I wanted to write a book which maybe even, let's say, a 12-year-old can pick up. Because when I was 12-year-old, and I am just being very honest about it, I used to have quite a few experience with bullies in my school.
Okay.
So that was a very difficult phase for me personally. I did not want to go to school at all after a few incidents, and I just felt like I want to, remain curled up in my bed and that's gonna be it. And if in that moment, had there been like this day-to-day breakdown of what I have to do, simple, direct, but helpful, it might have made me happier than I was. And then that scenario can not just happen at a young age, but even to somebody who is 50 years old. A 50-year-old who has been working in an office or whatever for, let's say, 20, 30 years or so. And yet they are feeling depressed now. Yet they are feeling anxious now for whatever reason. What they need is not some बहुत ही philosophical idea. They need a pragmatic, practical guide wherein you have a measurable journey in front of you. There are 50 days, you are completing the tasks, you are also noting down your progress, but at the same time, you are seeing a gradual shift. I'm not saying that in one day I'm going to improve your communication skills entirely. I'm going to take the first 10 days. In those 10 days, gradually the activities are going to ramp up and you will feel this transformation in your communication skills. Then we move on to the next aspect, then the next. So I think keeping that in mind, that the journey is going to be for as many people as possible and not specifying the demography, it helped me as a writer to expand my psychological horizon certainly while creating this narrative.
I am so excited to get on to this journey of 50 days, guys. And I'm sure a lot is going to happen. A lot is going to happen. So now, Yash, your book is called The Mindful Revival, and which itself sounds really powerful and transformative.
Yeah.
So who gave you this idea about this title, first of all? Because I think behind every book,
Yeah.
there is a story. Behind
Absolutely.
every title, there's a story. So what is the story behind this title?
So initially, I don't know if I'm at the liberty to, disclose this, but the title I thought about was gonna be just 50 days to reignite. Like within 50 days, how
Okay.
do you reignite? And the reason why I chose the word reignite was because I'm not saying it's about starting a new flame. I'm talking about the flame which already exists within you, but it has been extinguished because of all the anxiety of a career, the stress of a relationship, the tension of your passions, or the lack of any ambitions. So how do you reignite that? Then very gently and very positively, I must say, my publishers, my editors, they guided me that the title can be even better, and we landed on this. I am more than happy that this is the title we landed on, because this personally connects the best with my message. This gave me an articulation, a better articulation, I would say,
Absolutely.
towards the concept of the narrative. And I just love how it
Absolutely,
is.
the mindful
Yeah.
revival, habits for lasting change in 50 days. And I can vouch on you, and I can vouch on it, guys, that yes, this transformation is gonna happen. So the whole idea is take one step at a time. Take small baby steps, one step every day, and after 50 days, I'm sure something great is gonna happen. Why? Do you know why I'm repeating this? Because it becomes a habit, it becomes a lifestyle.
Yeah.
So it becomes your hard wiring in your head that this is it, this is how we're gonna live. So beautiful, very
Thank
nicely
you.
answered. Yash, we do not learn from experience, we learn from reflecting on experience. So the book takes readers on a 50-day journey, focusing on one habit or mindset shift. So I want you to talk about 2 of your favorite habits from your book.
Okay. Rather, I'll give you 2 activities,
Okay.
because I think that would make it even more fun. So there is one activity wherein you have to write a song about your own self.
Oh wow, that's
Yeah,
interesting.
I think it comes like way later, around day 20 or 25 or something like that. But you have to write a song about yourself. And what is the ideology behind it? When we listen to songs, even the simplest of tunes, we are able to create value out of it, right? The subject matter. Let's say the love between a boy and a girl, a very generic subject matter, right? It is a common trope. It is a common
Absolutely.
trope of novels, literature, and everything. And yet, when it is translated in a song, it takes a whole different meaning. We start valuing that theme more than anything else. So I wanted you in that activity to create a song about yourself, which you will of course feel weird about, but when you do that, and when you have even the most weirdest of lyrics down on paper, you will feel, I matter. I am worth writing a song about. I am worth singing a song about. So when you start seeing yourself from the lens of somebody who is worthy, the mindset starts to shift.
I am feeling so special.
Yeah.
A song dedicated to
Exactly.
me, written by me. Oh my god, I'm
Absolutely.
really excited now.
And another activity I feel was very interesting was, to call up somebody whom you have had like kind of a falling out with. Cold call. No teasers or trailers behind it. Cold call. You just try to have a conversation with them. If they respond well, great. Maybe it can be the starting of a new positive relationship. If they don't, it's still fine. But the reason behind doing it is because in the journey of moving on, in the journey of coming out of your, let's say, the zone of depression or anxiety or nervousness, or however you define it, you have to come out of the doubt which is lingering from the past. It might not be something जिसके बारे में आप regularly सोचते
Is it like
हैं.
you're trying to say that closing the loop?
Yeah, it is similarly, it is very similar to that, and at the same time, you are making a very conscious effort. Something you are not comfortable about. आपने तभी तो उनसे बात करना बंद किया
Going
ना.
out of the comfort
Yeah.
zone is
And-
not that easy.
And you are doing it at the expense of some other person. So you are basically trying to tell yourself that if this conversation goes well, it can be the starting of something better, something greater, and you get to move on. If it still does not go well, and abhi bhi wo sare tension linger karte hain, I'm gonna be okay with that. I'm not gonna be criticizing myself for the fact that one relationship did not work
You
out.
tried your best.
I
End of
tried
the
my
day.
best, and now I'm moving on. I gave my last bit of effort to that particular individual or event or scenario or experience. Now I move on. if that
This
person...
sounds pretty simple. This
Yeah.
sounds pretty simple. It sounds profound, and I think it's practical also.
Yeah.
We all should do. So I'm gonna phone a friend today and
Yes.
check.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Motivation gets you started, but habits keeps you going. This is my from Jim Rohn, and I am a big fan of Jim Rohn. So one of the biggest struggles with self-improvement is staying consistent. I think that's the issue with everybody. I'm not mentioning any particular age group, but yes, that is something that we falter, we goof up, making habits. How does your book help readers build habits that actually stick beyond the 50 days?
Yeah. Okay. So this is one question I feel the happiest to answer. What is the one habit which is slowly and gradually getting eroded amongst the youngsters specifically? Reading. I personally feel that reading is becoming sort of this exotic habit that only some of the youngsters now have, because most of
I
them
love
are...
the way you just mentioned exotic habit.
Yeah, I do think that. And so if I give you a book that has like a very philosophical chapter of 50 pages or 60 pages, every chapter is of that length, I can guarantee you 90% youngsters की हिम्मत नहीं होगी उसको पढ़ने की. They are gonna feel bored no matter how insightful it might be. They live in a generation of reels. They live in a generation of 5-second motivation. So I, as a writer and as a mentor, have the duty to deliver that motivation to them in a bite-sized content which helps them develop the habit over a course of time. आप अगर इस बुक का एक चैप्टर रीड कर रहे हैं, it's not going to take more than 4 to 5 pages.
Absolutely.
Or even less than that if you look at the chapters. And when you do that consistently for 50 days, firstly आपकी reading की जो habit है वो बन जाती है. You start growing that once again.
So very profound message. Please start reading, because both of us here
Yeah.
from this background, and we encourage people to read more and more.
Exactly. And when that habit starts to form, you basically tell yourself कि maybe I can develop consistency in the other areas of my life as well. So that was the ideology behind writing the chapters so briefly, but hitting very directly on the message in each one.
So I think his answer says a lot. Hitting the bullseye directly, that's number one. Consistency is the key. 50 days में जो rhythm बन जाएगा ना,
Yeah.
it'll stay with you, I'm sure.
And
And this
you
is
will-
how tiny habits are found.
And you will tell yourself, if I was able to do that within 50 days, it means I can do other things as well. It means I can take up other challenges and I can succeed. If these 50 days I could complete, maybe there are other 50 days of other journeys that I can also embark on.
So I think in another way, what are we trying to develop here is a sort of self-belief in ourselves.
Yeah.
That confidence, yes, I can do it.
Yes.
I can do it.
Absolutely.
I'm ready to take up this challenge and many more challenges in my life after listening to your talk. Amazing. Thank you so much for encouraging me. Well, आराम का ज़माना है. Everybody loves comfort. So a comfort zone is a beautiful place, but nothing ever grows there.
Yeah.
So what do you talk about? I mean, what do you say about comfort zone? So you talk about pushing post-comfort zones and breaking limiting beliefs. Please talk about this, because the whole idea is the youngster, the youth, they don't want to step out of their comfort zones. And
Yeah.
the self-belief is, to some extent, is limiting, because they have a lot of questions and they just end up here only in their head. They don't talk about it, or they don't read more.
Yeah.
So comfort zone is something very important for the youth to know.
Yeah, absolutely. That was in fact one of the key pillars I tried to focus on when even I was conceptualizing what the book was going to be about, because I wanted to understand why exactly comfort zones are so difficult to break out from. This is important. If we have to find the cure for a certain ailment, we have to understand the root cause. The reason why youngsters are not able to come out of their comfort zone in most scenarios is not because they are lazy. I personally can tell you from my own experience as a youngster, but because there is a lingering fear. It's a literal fear that if you try to get out of your comfort zone, what will happen? When you develop a habit of just staying as late as possible every night, you start becoming a bit afraid of maybe starting the routine of sleeping early on a certain night and thinking कि अरे यार लेकिन कितना काम मिस हो जाएगा, because you are a night owl and you have never tried it out, and दिन में तो आपका उठना हो ही नहीं पाएगा. This is a reality, an absolute reality. So for me personally, the journey of writing a story which helps the youngsters especially come out of their comfort zone was rooted in the ideology that I have to keep the motivation very peaceful. What I mean by that is, कई बार आपने देखा होगा कुछ टॉक्स होती हैं या सेशंस होते हैं या इवन बुक्स होते हैं जिनमें मोटिवेशन बहुत ही हार्श होती है. ये करिए 2 दिन में, नहीं तो आप फेल कर जाएंगे. ये करिए 5 दिन में, नहीं तो आप सक्सीड नहीं कर पाएंगे. आई एम नॉट सेइंग दैट. आई एम सेइंग रीड द माइंडफुल रिवाइवल. You will get to learn something. You will get to embark on a journey of a gentle motivation, a very gentle motivation, in which you will feel like there is a friend by your side who is encouraging you constantly. He is not dragging you out of your comfort zone. He is simply telling you, take your time. If it takes 50 days for you to step out of your comfort zone, I'm fine with that. Just keep on doing the small, the bare minimum you can do every day, and maybe one day that will help you not only come out of your comfort zone, but come out confidently out of it.
I am sure now with this journey of 50 days, one baby step at a time, I'm gonna win.
Yeah.
At this, I can give you in writing. All right. So, do what you can with what you have and where you are. If someone listening today could just take one habit or principle from your book and apply it immediately. You know, the current generation, the youth, you know how they are?
Yeah.
They just want to pick up something very quickly and talk about it. What is that one message you want to give to the youth?
The one message that youngsters must remember is that communication matters. And I do not mean that just in a very grammatical sense. Communication between two people, that is one of the premise of many of the chapters. But communication that you have with your own self, communication that you have with the world at large. What is your ideology about the politics of today, about the environment of today, about the the nature of the world of today? You cannot always distance yourself and say कि मैं तो newspaper पढ़ता ही नहीं हूँ. If you are living in this world and you want the opportunities from
You
this
have to
world,
be present.
You have to be present and you have to value that. You have to value the fact that it took generations upon generations for people to even develop the means of communication that now you readily have. Capitalize on it. Whether it is about your introspection, where you have motivation instantly available at any given moment. आप ये जो talk है, ये जो हमारा interaction हो रहा है, ये आप अपने मोबाइल पे सुन रहे हैं, right? You are listening to this or watching this on your televisions or your mobiles or your laptops. Capitalize on that. Value the communication that so readily is now available to you in any given moment of time, and how much you can learn from it, gain from it, and grow from it.
What I just loved what you said was self-talk. I think this self-talk is really important and it is missing.
Yeah.
Important in the sense, sometimes what happens is this self-talk is really negative. खुद से जो बात करते हैं,
Yeah.
we are harsh with ourselves sometimes, and which is not wrong. I mean,
Yeah.
which is not right, absolutely. We should be gentle, we should be soft, and probably this book is going to help us improve on that self-talk
It
also.
definitely will. It definitely will.
Great. Okay, when we share our stories, we help others find their own. So you encourage readers to document their progress and share their journey. Why do you think the act of sharing and reflecting is so crucial for personal growth?
Because for as long as you are keeping it only to your own self, you are going to diminish the value of it somehow.
You're an author, so this book is going to go to millions of people.
Yeah.
Millions of eyes going to read this.
Exactly.
What is the message?
Absolutely. And see, let's say I am writing this book. I'm not writing it just for myself, right? I'm writing it for you all to read. It's as simple as that. I want more and more people to read it, feel inspired by it, feel like they can embark on a journey of transformation, and that transformation is possible, which many people do not even, have a clarity about. So when you keep on sharing about your journey and your progress, you basically tell your own self that your journey and your progress is worth sharing about. Even I'm not saying कि हर स्टोरी पे आपको बहुत सारे लाइक्स मिलेंगे या रिप्लाई मिलेंगे whenever you share about your progress. It simply is the fact that if you put it out, you are letting even the 2 people who are seeing it know that you have something worth sharing, and you also have the potential to inspire. आप अपने प्रोग्रेस के बारे में शेयर करते हैं, 2 लोग भी देखते हैं, 2 लोग इंस्पायर हो जाते हैं. Even that matters so much.
Wow, like we say, every drop counts.
Yeah.
ये हर बूंद मायने रखती है, and I am so happy you creating a ripple effect. by helping, inspiring, encouraging people to read more and become more mindful in nature. Great going.
Thank you.
So now, be not afraid of growing slowly, be afraid only of standing tall. What's the biggest transformation you've seen in yourself or your readers since you've been into writing?
So I briefly mentioned about having these experiences of being bullied when I was very young. It was like 11, 12 years old I was. Writing helped me very profoundly because writing taught me even at that young age. I was writing stories, plainly stories, that my words can create an impact. Because when people, my teachers, my parents, my family...
I would like you to repeat it again.
Yeah.
My words,
they matter, and my words can create an impact. Even at that young age, I felt that even the stories I am writing, they can create an impact.
and they are doing it.
Yeah,
Their stories have become true. And recently I read it somewhere. Today, psychologists have proved that writing is more like a therapy.
Yes, it can be.
It works like a therapy. You talk about poems, you write something, and it really relieves a lot of good hormones, and you become happy.
Absolutely. And sometimes we read some, especially fiction authors and writers, narratives and books and stuff like that, and we feel कि हम उनकी personality को इसमें sense कर पा रहे हैं. Like वो 3 thrillers लिखेंगे, but हर thriller में उनकी जो individual personality है, you are able to notice that this is written by George R.R. Martin or this is written by Agatha Christie just by the way that they write every single book that they write, despite how different the plot and the characters might be. So your personality is becoming a part of your writing, right? In the same way, like you said, when you write, you get to showcase your personality. You get to present yourself in ways that you thought was never even imaginable. Because आपको हमेशा लगता था कि is it even worth to talk about who you are or what you do? But when you write about it, whether fiction or even non-fiction, you are basically telling yourself, yes, it does matter. Because your readers come to you and they say that what you wrote, it mattered to me.
The message is simple. Your voice matters.
Yeah.
So start writing. Start
Absolutely.
talking. Great. A lovely, lovely message. So Yash, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. And if you could just summarize the essence of the book, The Mindful Revival, how would you say it?
Okay. Today we live in a world where you are surrounded by distractions, where you are surrounded by tension, from the anxiety of an uncertain career to the nervousness of a breaking relationship, from the trepidation of not knowing what your passions are to the clawing feeling of agitation, of not being clear about your ambitions or your long-term goals. If you want to step out of the shadows of self-doubt into the light of self-certainty, self-confidence and self-worth, then the Mindful Revival is going to be your guide for it. Just in 50 days.
And I can vouch on this. Well, the best way to predict the future is to create it. What's next for you? Are you already working on something else?
I
What are your
always
plans?
am working on so much more. There is always so much in the pipeline. One thing I can tease is that there are things I am now trying out which even to me personally feel very unconventional because they are out of my comfort zone. I'm being honest about it. The kind of subject matters or the kind of themes I'm picking up. Because as I am growing, I am maturing. Of course, my mindset is also maturing, right? So I am looking at more and more avenues, be it in the term of genres or characters or styles of writing or narratives even, which can create a greater impact while also being as entertaining as they can be. So there is much more in
Thank you when you said entertaining also.
Yeah, so there is much more in the pipeline and more will be talked about soon.
Great. Now it's time for a rapid fire round.
Okay.
And we want our listeners, people who are watching you, should be fun also for that.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to start with one thing that brings happiness to you. How do you define happiness?
Pizza.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
Yeah.
So this is like perfect answer by a Gen Z. Okay.
Which I just had before this recording, by the way.
Most underrated life skill.
Kindness, which I do consider as a skill because it's becoming more and more extinct as I see, especially amongst the youngsters. It's cooler to act as a bully or rude in some or the other capacity. speaking loudly or shouting loudly does not count as a skill or as a communication skill
And that's
specifically.
easy because it's all easy.
But being
loud.
kind is definitely becoming a very important skill, but also a very needed skill, especially amongst the youngsters.
I feel the most underrated life skill is for today's generation is bounce back.
Oh yeah, resilience.
Bounce back from failures, because that's one area we feel like we tried. So it's very easy to give up. So I think we should all work for this bounce back, come back to life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Best advice you have received in life?
Okay. All right. Speak even when you feel nervous, even when you make mistakes, even when your words fumble, even when, let's say, every now and then you might stutter, even when you feel like you want to run away, just speak.
Wow, I like it. So he says, just speak, say it, try, express it. Wonderful. Well, if I have to give answer to this, best advice I have received in life is don't take life seriously. Break them into small chunks. I know life is all about hills and valleys. There's so many hurdles every day. Take one step at a time. And I'm sure
Like
when
the
you
book
take that
suggests.
one, that's what the beauty is. When you take that one step, I'm sure you'll get the second step. And one by one, you will look at the beautiful life ahead.
Yeah.
Great. My next question to you. One daily habit of peace every day.
Reading.
Okay.
Definitely reading, but I am not going to say that it's just fiction or just non-fiction or just news. It's reading in any capacity. I need to have that 1 hour before I go to bed to just read in whatever ways, whatever sort of contents I can. Mostly I'm being honest about it. It happens more so on my mobile these days, but I do read in some capacity for sure every night before going to bed.
So, well, I would want my listeners to understand he's a Gen Z, 23. I'm an old school, 46. So we have different opinion, different perspective, but it's okay.
Yeah.
My experience says something else, his experience says something else. But anyways, the message is common. It's the same. Well, one daily habit of peace every day for me at this age and stage is I feel letting go of grudges is really, really important, and it is underrated. Like you said in that activity also, remember?
Yeah.
One activity called a friend. I know distance happens. Sometimes we just take it for granted. उसने मुझे कॉल नहीं किया, मैं क्यों करूँ? So please, and also this habit of अगर कुछ गलत कभी हो गया, कोई misunderstanding भी हो गई, please let go, because after that you feel so good about it.
Absolutely.
छोड़ दो, जाने दो sometimes. So okay, one nightly ritual. What is it for you?
Reading I already mentioned, but yes, apart from that, also entertaining myself in some way. I'm going to be honest about it. If you live in the world that we live in right now, which has a lot of tension, stress, anxiety, as
But
I
it has a
mentioned.
lot of entertainment also during the
Yeah,
day.
exactly. So if you are making out even half an hour, like I always recommend my sister who has a very busy schedule because she is a professor, but I always tell her every day make out just 30 minutes. मैं उससे ज़्यादा नहीं कह रहा हूँ. कोई ना कोई sitcom देखो, कोई ना कोई episode देखो, so that you build this rhythm of joy in your life as well. Every single day there is this moment where you are gonna just laugh or just be happy and not worry about the tensions of the world, and that does develop a consistency of happiness in your routine too.
So कहीं ना कहीं से अपनी बुक का एक चैप्टर ये बीच में ले ही आते हैं. आप कह रहे हैं कंसिस्टेंसी और एंटरटेनमेंट भी जरूरी है. But I like that string, by the way.
Thank you.
So for me, I'm not a Gen Z, but again, one nightly ritual which I do every day before going to bed. और कभी कभी मुझे लगता है कि मैं अगर टाइम नहीं मिलता, you come up very late from a party or something, तो मुझे लगता है कि मैं नींद में भी I'm just moving my hand and writing something. So that is my affirmation. So before going to bed, I make sure that I write something, whatever good was about the day, and I like it like that, because I think before sleeping, when you write these affirmations, when you write these positive thoughts and things, you sleep better. That's number one. Number two is you get nice dreams, because just thinking about all those positive things, and that's what we call manifestation. So I just love doing it. I think you also talked about
Yes, it
affirmation.
is.
See,
it is
everything
part.
is just revolving around these 50 habits. We're just talking about these.
Well, that is so much, contained in the book itself. maybe.
Absolutely. Okay, my next question. One key to happy relationship. You're too young to answer this, but I'm
no,
sure you must.
I'll answer this. I'll answer this. This is in fact a part of some of the chapters, not just one, but some of the chapter. And I'm not just talking about romantic relationship, even parental relationships, even siblings, even friends, anything really. The one single key to a happier relationship is to identify your self-worth. It can sound ironical because usually हम लोग बात क्या करते हैं कि आपको दूसरे की रिस्पेक्ट करना है,
बहुत
आपको
बड़ी
दूसरे का
बात कर
सम्मान
दी
करना
आपने।
है. But you cannot have a happy and healthy, I'm emphasizing, healthy relationship till you have understood what is your own worth. You have to know about it so that you can talk about it. आप इफेक्टिव कम्युनिकेशन कर ही तब पाएंगे जब आपको खुद पता है कि आप हैं कौन एंड आपके थॉट्स क्या हैं एंड आपके बिलीफ क्या हैं. आप अपने पार्टनर को ये बता ही तब पाएंगे दैट दिस इज द मूवी आई वांट टू वॉच व्हेन यू नो व्हिच इज द मूवी यू वांट टू वॉच एंड नॉट जस्ट द वन दैट दे आर recommending you to watch. So I think self-awareness is a very important part of any happy and healthy relationship.
Guys, this is more like yin and yang. He's saying something different, and I believe in something different. But I would love to share something here. So, one key to a happy relationship, according to me, is just listen with an open heart.
Yes.
What is missing these days? We are not good listeners.
Yeah.
Sometimes communication is incomplete because the other person is not ready to listen. So I think what is missing and is just paramount in relationship, in building relationship today, is be a good listener.
So it's
Listen
like
with your open heart and accept things.
two
And again,
sides
coming
of the
back to
same
your
coin.
book.
Two sides of the same coin. You have to
Absolutely.
know who you are. You have to listen to who the other person is. That's when one single happy relationship happens. So yeah, very interesting.
So that means we are on the same page. Happy, happy. Okay. Okay. My next question. First step to create change.
Being okay to make mistakes.
Being okay to make mistakes. I like it. So when to make change is to be open to change, to take that first step, to take that first leap. And he took that first leap, I think, when he was a teenager, coming up with his first book. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Okay, now the question is little complicated, but
okay.
I think you have just got one option for it. जैसे KBC में होता है ना,
I'm on the
तीन
edge of my
options.
seat.
Absolutely. Your biggest cheerleader.
My family.
Okay.
If you want it to
it's
be
a
one
broader
person, I
thing.
can be very specific about it.
Just funnel it, yeah.
Yeah.
Narrow this.
My mother.
Your biggest cheerleader.
My mother, definitely. My
And
mother.
why? We want you to explain.
Yeah,
Tell us
because
in detail.
no matter what she is going through her life, no matter what she might be facing or struggling with or has struggled with, she never even for once has said that you need to do something. She always asks, do what you want to do, or what is it that you want to do. The need वाला शब्द कभी आता ही नहीं in the conversation. It's always about the want क्या है. Because she trusts me, of course. She trusts me with the fact that I will utilize my time and effort in a positive way. So, of course, there is that trust and kindness towards one another. But then again, for her to never ever focus on who she is or what she is going through, but only focus on what her children need and require, that's what makes her the biggest cheerleader for me, but also a huge inspiration in her own right.
Wow, I am so impressed. So now coming back to the same question, and I need to answer this because two generations talking about things. Your biggest cheerleader, when I say it and I read your book, in the end I realized there were a lot of names, I had a list of people, my biggest cheerleaders. And then after reading this book, guys, I realized my biggest cheerleader is myself. I need to take up that first step. And then after completing that first step, I need to pat my shoulders. Oh, I did it. So I feel I've realized something very new and different after reading this book, that I am my favorite. That's number one. And I'm my biggest cheerleader because everything starts with me. I don't have to look for outside people to just give me a justification, give me an approval or something. No, this is my journey. This is my fight. I need to cheer myself. And this is a message to you all. Be your biggest cheerleaders. You don't have to wait for anybody's approval. Just take that tiny little step as mentioned in this book, Habits for Lasting Change in 50 Days. And after doing every step, guys, don't forget to pat up your shoulders.
Absolutely.
Because the journey is gonna be beautiful, the journey is gonna be really enriching, and the journey is gonna be enlightening. Okay, now coming to the next. What is the difference between winners and losers? Now there's a very thin, like a razor thin line between winners and losers. Maybe you see a marathon, maybe you see some very close matches, maybe you talk about badminton. So there's a very thin line between winning and losing. What is your definition, or how do you differentiate between winners and losers?
Winners are those who are willing to get back up even when they fall. Losers are those who have given up even before they start.
I love this, what he said. This is really, really profound. And ये generation बहुत smart है. What they try to do is give everything in a capsule size thing. Small nuggets of wisdom. 1 minute में कह दिया, बात खत्म. And we as, old school, we like to elaborate, we like to talk. Oh, winners. Okay, this is how I'm going to talk. But it's my turn. So winners, I feel, winners have that different kind of a self-belief. They always take the first step. And that's something I like about winners. And losers, they always have an excuse. Gym जाना है? अरे नहीं जाना तो बहुत सारे excuses हैं. So they are ready with so many excuses. And believe me, once you start making excuses, it becomes a habit. Your brain is trained. Like the AI today, if you give an instruction to Alexa, Alexa knows your style now. So similarly, your brain knows your style. So losers always have an excuse, and winners always says, okay, I'll do for it. I'll go for it. I'm gonna make it happen. And from where am I telling this, guys? All this is mentioned in the book. So go for it. Have that attitude. Have the winner's attitude. And sometimes what we need to do is clear the lens of your specs, make it clear, and make sure, tell yourself that I can do it. Have that attitude. I can do it and make it happen. So moving on to the next question. Now this question, I'm sure you'll be having a lot of names here, but let us see. Your biggest teacher.
My biggest teacher. Okay, all right. My biggest teacher was definitely the joy I had the first time. This is not a person, but it is an experience. That was a huge teacher for me. The joy I had the first time I was on stage, especially on the TEDx platform, and I had all the spotlights focused on me, and I knew that the audience in front of me, they were like decades elder to me. The fellow speakers, they were also decades upon decades elder to me and very famous. I was just 17 years old, but the joy I felt in that moment, that from this point onwards, every single word I'm going to speak is going to create a positive impact on millions upon billions of people out there in the world. So that experience became a teacher for me. That in any given moment of time, whenever I feel a bit lost, I just look back to that moment. And that moment teaches me again and again, like a revision of the same lesson, that you just need to chase that positive feeling. Because not only did you feel happy in that moment, you also created a positive impact. So when those two things are synchronized, it becomes a great lesson that I live by myself, and I remind myself every single day.
Wow. So who's the biggest teacher? He himself. Wow. Or no, experiences. He's got a lot of answers. But if I have to answer this, I think I'm going to address in a very different way. For me, my biggest teacher, my first biggest teacher is experience, like you just said, because having that winner mindset, taking that first step, not making excuses, and going for it, trying new things. So experience plays a vital role here. My second biggest teacher is time. Sometimes you just need time. Give time, allow time. Just, because great results takes time. Rome was not built in a day. It took thousands of years for Rome to be built. And my third biggest teacher, and very close to my heart, is pain. Yes, guys, you got it right. My biggest teacher is pain. Well, because I feel pain has that incredible power to master. And how you say it, if you want to see yourself on the other side, you have to go through that chain. You have to go through that pain. You have to step out of your comfort zone. So here, if I'm talking about pain, I'm talking about that comfort zone. step out of your comfort zone, because once you experience that pain of that, stepping out of the comfort zone, you will realize, oh wow, this is my biggest teacher. This is my biggest life lesson. And I'm sure everybody who's listening to us has gained a lot. And as the title says, the mindful revival. So we're revising so many small habits which we practice, which we do in our everyday life. And I'm so glad you've talked about this book, about these topics, about these concepts. And what you're trying to do is create a ripple effect. And I'm so happy to have this conversation with you. Last but not the least, I would want to know one of your favorite books.
One of my favorite books. Okay, this is interesting. So, would you like it to be fiction or non-fiction?
Your call. We're talking about non-fiction every day.
I'll keep it fiction. I'll keep it fiction just to keep it a bit more entertaining. My favorite book of all time is going to be, Gone Girl.
Oh, okay.
And there is a very distinct reason for it. Gone Girl has nothing to do with the concept of my book, for those who have read it. It's a very mature narrative. It's a thriller, of course, written by Gillian Flynn. But it is a story about this very complex character who is, by the way, a psychopath. I'm just giving you all the spoilers. And yet, it's the writer's way of narrating the story, which just enamored me. It filled me with joy that writing can thrill you so much. The way that she has written such a complex narrative about these two characters who can feel very relatable to many, and the way that even the smallest of moments are used to hit the psychology of a very complex character, I think the writer's expertise in creating that narrative is what inspired me a lot. Even though the story itself, I'm just giving you a disclaimer, it's very complex, it's very difficult to read at times, but the brilliance in the words of the writer is what I just commend a lot. So yeah, that can be one of the book which I just keep on reading and rereading. So that is the reason why I mentioned it.
I like his book which is on the top of his list. But if I have to talk about something that really intrigues me, all I like reading is, you've heard about Jeff Keller. So he's written a very beautiful book about, and it says, attitude is everything. That is one of my favorites. It's a red color book. I call it a Lal Kitab. It's very close to my heart. And again, small nuggets of wisdom, because I feel everything starts with an attitude.
Sure.
You talk about self-belief, you talk about that winner mindset,
Absolutely.
you talk all about losing.
Yeah.
It's all your mindset, it's all your attitude, it's just the way you look at things.
Absolutely.
Because, for me, it's an opportunity. For you, it's a problem. It's a big mountain of problems. So what is the difference? Attitude. And that's my favorite. And the current read is The Mindful Revival, which I'm learning so much from. These are such beautiful habits for lasting change in 50 days. So guys, before ending this podcast, I would share my favorite chapter from this book, which is gratitude. You've actually won my heart by mentioning about gratitude, because this generation, I don't know, do they believe in gratitude or no? Do they practice gratitude or no? But I think it's a profound practice which we should have, which we should follow every day in our life. Because yes, we should be thankful to whatever we've got in life. So a lot of people say, "Arey, किस चीज़ के लिए thank you करना है?" Mind me, guys. We can make a list. We can make a list of we're breathing, we're talking, we're sitting in this podcast studio. Yeah. Let's be grateful for all the opportunities in life. You are an established author and you got the courage. You are here giving a message, a beautiful message to the world. I think we are all grateful, and we are ending this podcast with a very lovely note, gratitude. So thank you viewers, thank you listeners for watching us on Chhoti Kalam Bade Sapne with this rising star, Yash. Many congratulations on your book. Many congratulations.
Thank you.